Hello, I'm Miss Toon, and I will be your instructor for American Lit 1 this summer. I'm excited to have you in class. I'm excited to be working with you regarding some of the American authors. I love literature, I love reading literature, I love to study and research the authors and the meanings behind the novels that they wrote. And I hope to give you just a small glimpse of what it means to actually dig into an American literary author. We have only technically, we really will only have 4 short weeks in which we will cover these authors. So I've selected 4 strong authors that we're going to cover. Each week, I will post a lecture for each author and the selected novels for that author. I will also post additional lecture notes for you to read. You will be expected to read excerpts from each novel as well as do some research on your own regarding each novel. There will be quizzes over the novels and over the authors. There will be other assignments that you will have to complete, and then there will be one big paper, which is your final literary analysis essay. And for that essay, you will pick one author and one novel from that author, and you must read that novel in its entirety. I'm posting this list in week 1, but it is not due until week 4, the analysis. So that gives you roughly 3 weeks to read the novel and do the research and begin writing the paper and submit the final paper by Wednesday of week 4. Okay, let's take a look at here is a list of the authors, and I'm going to start with Truman Capote.
It's 6:30.
Sorry about that. Truman Capote is one of my favorite all-time American authors. Truman wrote several famous novels that you may be familiar with. Truman Capote wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's, In Cold Blood, Other Voices, Other Rooms, Answered Prayers, The Unfinished Story. This is the story that he was working on before he died. You will pick one, if you choose Truman Capote, you will pick one of those novels and read it in its entirety. Do some research on that novel, the background, that what was happening that led him to write that novel. You're also going to do research on Truman Capote. Whether you choose him or not, you're going to do some research on him. You're going to discover some extremely interesting facts regarding Truman Capote. I think you will enjoy his work. This picture right here is a picture of Nell Harper Lee. This is Truman Capote when he was a young boy. Truman and Nell were actually connected as children. They grew up together as children, and they also collaborated together on their writings. Nell played a big part in in several of his writings, but most especially the In Cold Blood piece. In Cold Blood was based on a true story, though it was rejected and as a nonfiction novel because the people who lived in the town in which the story takes place did not like the way that Truman was showing favoritism to the perpetrators, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So they rejected and caused a commotion. Therefore, the literary group forced him, the publishers and so forth, forced Capote to write this novel as a fiction, even though it is totally based on true events that actually happened in a small town in Kansas. Okay, the next author that we're going to take a look at is John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck wrote some very famous novels, of which I'm sure you're totally familiar. Of Mice and Men is one of those novels, but that's not on our list. On our list, we are looking at The Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, and Tortilla Flat. I think you'll enjoy each one of those novels. Again, The Grapes of Wrath is one of his most popular that I'm sure you have heard of and are familiar with. That one, again, it is fiction, but it is based on a true story in which a conglomeration of people were put into each one of his characters as he told the story. So I think you will totally enjoy John Steinbeck. Harper Lee, Nell Harper Lee. Nell is her first name, and that's what Capote always called her. This picture right here is a picture of Capote and Harper Lee as they were collaborating. I believe at this time he was in the process of working on In Cold Blood, and of course Nell was right there beside him every step of the way, guiding him and editing and helping him put the story together. Nell Harper Lee grew up in the Deep South, and she only wrote 2 novels. The one novel I'm sure everyone is extremely familiar with is To Kill a Mockingbird. Her first novel that she actually wrote was Go Set a Watchman, but it was rejected by the editors based on the racial tension that was going on in society and in the United States during this time, especially in the Deep South. So the editors told her to go back and rewrite the content of Go Set a Watchman, and she pushed out To Kill a Mockingbird. And you're all familiar with Atticus Finch, and then Scout, Jim, and Boo Radley, the next door neighbor, and then Dill, the little boy who was the friend to Jim and Scout in the novel. Dill, the character of Dill, was actually based on Truman Capote. And then, of course, the young girl Scout was based on Nell Harper Lee as she was a young girl. And then the character of Jim, yes, it was based on Nell's true brother. Atticus Finch was based on her father. So the 2 novels that we're going to cover, To Kill a Mockingbird was written in 1960, and Go Set a Watchman was written it was written before 1960, but it was not released until 2015. About a year after Harper Lee wrote or released Go Set a Watchman, she passed away. And that was a very sad and unfortunate time. She was an excellent writer, but again, she only released 2 novels, To Kill a Mockingbird and Go Set a Watchman. The last author that we're going to take a look at is F. Scott Fitzgerald. I know you've all heard of The Great Gatsby. You should be somewhat familiar with that. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote The Great Gatsby in 1922. He wrote many novels. We're only going to take a look at just a few novels, or just 2 novels that he wrote. I'm sure you're all also familiar with The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. That was released as a movie a few years back with Brad Pitt playing Benjamin Button. F. Scott Fitzgerald actually wrote Benjamin Button or The Curious Case of Benjamin Button in 1922, as well as The Great Gatsby. He wrote several novels in the early 20s. I think you will enjoy the study of F. Scott Fitzgerald, and if you go in and do some research on him, you will find him to be an extremely interesting character with some kind of interesting events that occurred in his life and things that he went through and some of his opinions. So I hope you are ready to dig deeply into American literature through these 4 authors, and I hope that you will take this seriously and really get in there and do some digging. And I cannot wait to hear your opinions on the discussion board, and your thoughts and ideas of each one of these writers and their novels as we unfold their works. Okay, I will be posting more lectures, more videos, more PowerPoints, and I'll definitely be posting some hard copy lecture notes as attachments, as well as some information regarding each one of these authors. So I look forward to working with you this semester in American Lit 1.